Yeah, uh, yeah, yeah,
I really need to update the photos in that video montage. I think we're like a year behind. I was just thinking about that. Hey, Matt.
What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. We're back. We're back from vacations, traveling across the world. Well, in your case, traveling across the world. Me taking a social media break. It's been a lot, but we got a lot to talk about because the Kickers are starting off their 31st season in about 6 days, and I am hella excited for it.
Yeah, man, just kind of flown on by a little bit. Yeah, that's not a bad thing because sometimes off seasons can just seem like they drag,
Yeah.
for forever. But feels like this one went by relatively quickly.
It did kind of have that feel to it. I think, like before, in years past, like there's been those seasons where those off seasons where it's like the team was just constantly like updating with players for players for players. And kind of this year, it didn't seem like that. Like it was kind of like Richmond got their business done early, and then it was kind of just like we just wait around for preseason games, y'all. Like kind of just had that feel to it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is that continuity is not sexy, but it's effective. And I'm sure we'll talk plenty about that
Oh yeah,
the rest of the day.
yeah. Continuity is a big theme in this team this year, man. I mean, definitely, we'll definitely get into that. But first and foremost, listeners, this is season 5 of our podcast. So, with that being said, we would love it if you donate to the podcast. You can do so in the link down below. Also, go check out Matt's articles. He's slowly but surely finishing up this top 30 list.
Emphasis on slowly.
Yeah, slowly. You recently just had one come out not too long ago. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, highlighted Peter Luzak. He was central defender in the about 2000 to 2005. Just absolute brick wall back there. Played for U of R back when they had a men's team. Still came right over to the Kickers. Just top guy. Back up in the Philly area where he's from. These days, still playing on adult league teams. Saw him play against a friend of the podcast, Ronnie Pascal, in back when that Richmond area team was over 40 run through some amateur tournament. They ended up playing a team for Pennsylvania and had Luzak out there. That was fun to be able to see them go up against each other. But and great defender. That's why he was I think number 6 list.
Oh yeah, and no, it was a great article. I was reading it, and I mean, these articles are great because for someone like me that came a little bit later in the club, I get to learn about some of these guys and how pertinent they were, and it's cool to see. So definitely head on over to River City 93 where you can check out those articles and more. But Matt, let's go ahead. Let's talk about some league news, some stuff that's going on in the league that is also going to affect the Kickers. Um, so first and foremost, we got the league schedule. So I want to ask you this, man. We talked about it on the Walking 90 podcast, but the most challenging part of each team's schedule. I want to ask you, looking at the schedule, what do you think is the where do you think the most challenging part of the league schedule comes from for the Kickers?
Yeah, I think the schedule is surprisingly balanced. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's always balanced. But in terms of home and away, there's not any like long death march away trips. This year, some of them were kind of bundled together in terms of you can be able to potentially hit like I think it was like Omaha and Madison, both within like 5 or 6 days of one another, which is nice.
hmm
Uh, I mean, I can make an argument that the tough part of the schedule is right at the very front. First
yeah,
2 games both away. Charlotte's always a little tricky. I mean, we took care of them plenty last year, but then Greenville always tough as well. They're at a new stadium this year, so you don't necessarily know what's going to come up right there at the start, and then you start to figure that there's going to be Open Cup games getting mixed in early season as well. Yeah, I think it's not an easy kind of you get your feet wet start to the year like maybe we had last year with Tucson.
Yeah. For me personally, I put down September 9th to the 30th. That just seems like a tricky part for us because you play Omaha at home, then Madison at home, Greenville on the road, and Torrento on the road. It's kind of like those four teams that's kind of around us in the state of the
Yeah,
table. And it could be the case
so
of
you got that
where,
home and away switch.
yeah, it also be that part of the year where it's like we could be third place, and there's a difference between us becoming a top 2 seed or us becoming like fifth and sixth. So that's where I put like the toughest part of the schedule. And I imagine a lot of those teams are going to be in contention for a top 3 seed. You know,
Yeah, but I think the big takeaway is maybe with like one or two exceptions, there aren't any real like dogs in this league. Like obvious, all right, don't really have to worry about them this year. Might be some that come about to be that way over the course of the season, but it's
Mhm.
not something where you can just be like, all right, that's the easy spot. That's don't have to stress on this one.
Is there any game that sticks out in your mind? Like this is like a big game you guys circled on your calendar. Like yo, I intentionally want to be there. I want to watch this game.
I mean, all of them. Uh, I am excited for the opening day. On the first. Uh,
Yeah.
we had team had such good momentum in home games in the last year. The crowds consistently tipping over 5,000 for what I think like probably like 3 or 4 of the last home games, and I mean, that made it fun to go to City Stadium. Like even more so than normal. Yes, the team was good, and that certainly doesn't hurt the cause at all. But yeah, just getting back out there and hopefully to be able to see that the front office has been able to build upon that momentum from the last year and keep filling up that bowl, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most right now. The rest, everything
Awesome.
else will come as it comes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. Like everything else, I mean, I'm always excited for the Hendy derbies. I am excited to see when we play One Knox, just to see how Darren plans around Jalen. Um, you know how he plans to attack him. I'm interested to see that matchup. Moving on, we got U.S. Open Cup opponents. As you know, the U.S. Open Cup is coming back, and also we got some news. So, for those fans who cannot make it to the game in person, you can watch the Richmond Kickers play on BR, the app, and YouTube. I believe it is, or is it one or the other?
I think so. I think they're the same stream. They'll just be in 2 places.
Okay, so yeah, so you can watch the game either way from that way. But we are waiting to see who our opponent would be because it's Cleveland SC versus Lionsbridge FC, and I believe Lionsbridge got to fly out to Cleveland, right? Which I imagine they're going to have super fun with.
Or bus, which also
Yeah.
would be fun.
Oh, woo. That's a trip, man. But yeah, you got that game, Matt. For you, man, who I know who you want, but who do you think we will see on April the 6th?
Oh, I have no idea who's on either one of these teams at this point. So they're just names right now. I have no idea who would be better, who would be worse. Obviously, there's the intrigue of the team from right down the road in Newport News and Lionsbridge. So yeah, sure, why not that one?
Yeah, I mean, I want Lionsbridge just more so because I think the atmosphere in the stadium would be 10 times better than what it would be if we played Cleveland SC. No offense to
Yeah,
Cleveland, but I think it would be 10 times better. And
yeah.
I kind
I
of
mean,
lean to
realistically, I want whoever looks like the worst team to fluke out a win in the first game, and then we get them.
yeah,
But
yeah.
not looking for unnecessary challenges.
No, I don't want a repeat of the NC Fusion game. We almost went to penalty kicks with them. I don't want
Yeah, no.
that. So yeah, so once again, that game is April 6th. I think tickets are available on the SeatGeek app. Which by the way, Matt, I know you haven't had a chance to experience yet, but when I went to the JMU game, the experience of getting the tickets was a lot better. Like 10 times better than it was with with SeatGeek than it was in previous past. So literally all I had to do was buy the ticket on SeatGeek, pull it up, and it was there. It wasn't like before where you had to get a link to get another link to get the tickets and then screenshot it, and it wasn't all that mess. So it's a lot more easier to do.
That's good. Easier is better. You make it easy for somebody to do something, they're more likely to do it. If you make it hard for somebody to do something, especially if they're on the edge of do they want to or not, they're probably not going to.
Yeah. So so that should be fun. Go ahead, we move on. I feel like we're going quickly but this what happens when you plan out a podcast episode. Uh, we got the roster updates. We're not gonna go super in depth like we have in years past because we kind of already did that a little bit. And it really wasn't that many new players. So these are the new players that are coming into the team. Jake McKeachum, he's a fullback from University of Denver. Beckett Howe, he's a homegrown product. He's a center back from Richmond United. Michael Hornsby, he is a fullback from Central Valley Fuego that we signed. Justin Sukow, he's a center mid from the Pink Team. Jao Gamario, center mid from NC Fusion, U23, team that we played last year in the U.S. Open Cup game. Gabe Cox, a center mid from Columbus Crew, U17. And Kelton Belmer, left wing, another kind of, did we call him a homegrown product since he played at VCU?
That might be a little bit of a stretch, but whatever.
Okay. All right.
From Virginia.
Yeah. He's a left back that played at Colorado Switchbacks last year. So Matt, just let's talk about some of these new players. Anybody on this list right now that kind of sticks out to you as he's someone I'm really excited that we got?
Yeah, I mean, Carlton Belmar has been a guy that way back from when he was at VCU, I was always kind of hoping would land with the Kickers. I remember seeing some preseason games at VCU against the Kickers, and he was torching Hugh Roberts, early in Hugh's career during some of those games. Like at least young version of him had some wheels. I haven't been able to see the preseason games in person, so I don't know if he's lost a step or two over the years yet. But he was just a terror out on the left side, and he tore it up. In some previous USL Championship spots. I think he was Rookie of the Year with Portland Timbers too, back when they were in the league. Played with can't remember Swope Park or Sporting KC too, one of those for a while. He's been at Sacramento. He's been at Colorado Springs, so he's bounced around a little bit, but he fits the profile pretty well of what Darren seems to like in wingers, especially guys who are left-sided. I could see him being potentially a Bolaños replacement.
Yeah, I got to see him in preseason, and he's definitely is the Bolaños replacement. I don't think he's lost any speed because it was a few times in that preseason game against JMU that he just pulled away from defenders and got on a break there. Me personally, I'm excited to see Jao Gamario. When last year when we did the team preview with NCFC Fusion, he was one of the players that they talked about, and I kind of low-key been following him. When I came across their YouTube video, he was a star in it, and he was just talking about like how he got into soccer and how the life of a League Two player and everything. So when I saw Richmond sign him, I was like, oh yeah, like he's really good. Now, I will say this: I do not know if he starts automatically, just because I'm leaning to he's more of the Neil replacement. I've also heard talks that he's kind of like there to replace Ethan. So it's interesting to see, but he's a player that I'm interested in seeing there.
Yeah, and he was with the team training last year too, right? So he could be. He has very Bentley-esque vibes. For a guy who was in League Two the previous year, but around the team training during that time. I think signed an announcer really early on. Yeah, if he gives us anything close to what Bentley gave us last year, I think that's another great find.
Yeah. Also, I think what was it? I didn't realize this. Jao was in the team photo last year. So if we would have looked at that team photo, we would have automatically know, like, huh. Well, we know who's signing off for the team next year. Yeah, right. I didn't bother.
Otherwise, I think Hornsby somebody that could be interesting to be able to see. Again, he was a guy who was signed pretty early. obviously we need a new left back this year with Stu moving on. So I think looking forward to see what he can be able to bring there, but also looking forward to see if it's going to be him or if it's going to be maybe Jake, the other guy because he played both outside back positions in college. You look at his tape on YouTube. Some of his highlights are on the right side of the field, some are on the left side of the field, and that can only be potentially a good thing. I don't know which side of the field he's slated for, but he's maybe a little bit Simon-esque in that way.
Yeah, so we interested to see how that works out there, man. With those new players coming in, but like we started off the show saying, continuality is a great thing in this team, and Darren has definitely done that. So we'll go through the list, but I got a question to ask you when we go to the list. So this is the list of returning players to the team: Kara Fitzgerald, William Palmquist, Eli Mumford, Nathan Aundy on a 2-year deal, Dakota Bar-Nathan on a 2-year deal, Chris Cole 2-year deal, Simon Fitch 2-year deal, Ovito Zerbini. I never knew how to say his last name, but he resigns. He was a youth product. Christian O'Dwyer, he resigns. Nathan Vignoles, 2-year deal. Zaka Moran, 2-year deal. Emiliano Terzaghi, 2-year deal. Matthew Bentley, Owen Gordon, or as I like to call him, O Gordon. Luke Pavone, and David Olson. Matt, last year we kind of talked about how Darren and Mika kind of settled on re-signing a lot of guys, having that rebuilt structure, kind of having a good plane on which to build on. This year was kind of like the same thing, but you see it like the number of 2-year deals that the club is now re-signing now with the CBA in place. What does that mean for the overall structure of this team?
I think it allows Darren, Mika, Connor, the whole coaching staff to be able to really focus a lot more on long-term planning rather than you know just going for that what's going on right now. They can be able to start making some projections and filling in other holes with the band-aids as they might need. But you look at what a lot of the returning players are, that it's right up the spine. Yeah, we lost a few guys. Like we all knew Blondie wasn't coming back. We knew it wasn't coming back. Like as much as deep down we might wanted to hope, we knew they weren't going to be here this year. They, they finished League One. By now, so they're moving on to another challenge, which is great. I hope they specifically do well. And then but the rest of the guys, when you have a solid base, build off of, the guys start to know each other already. They don't have to learn what everybody else wants to do, where they're like look, what which foot they like to receive it on, how they like to be able to uh, play. Do they like defeat? Do they like it into space? Any of those sort of things. You're already able to speed ahead a little bit in preseason and not have to start from scratch. Like we've done a few times in the past. So I think that can only be useful.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, having guys back like Nathan Aundy, Dakota, guys that had, I mean, low key, they were the starters at center back. I mean, when Jalen was in the team, Zaka. I'm not gonna lie, man. When Zaka got announced, there was a part of me that was afraid that like he wasn't going to come back. And I think for the longest, I think the only 6 we had was Chandler. And I mean, seeing him resign for a 2-year deal, part of me thinks like, oh, Zaka was holding out to make sure he got a good deal. Like he had to be. Which wouldn't surprise me. Like pay that man because he's been the quiet, like probably the most untalked about player in the squad for large parts.
Yeah, I mean he plays an unglamorous position, right? Nobody gets too hyped up about tackles. For the most part, it's not like a stats category.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing it shows is that the team is really building off of that community element. Because seeing that like it starting to look like Emmy and his family are looking to be able to put some down. here. It looks like some of the other guys, certainly Akira and his family are putting down roots in the area. Guys are wanting to and looking to be able to stay here, not just be here for the 7 months of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that is true. It's good to see like I mean guys are also getting long-term deals and they're not having to I mean it's kind of been the longest thing that I've learned about little league soccer is guys put down roots for 10 months and then having to uproot themselves and move on out and guys are now playing for the next 2 years instead of the 1 year. It's something that we don't think about, but I mean that gives you a different level of comfortability. Like where you're at for the next 2 years. Is the difference between getting a rent for an apartment, like you're not renting an apartment for 10 months, you're renting out for the next 2 years, or if you want to buy a house, you can start doing that now. So I mean that's good to see for these guys. They got 2-year deals, and it's guys in the team that have proven that they deserve those deals.
Yeah, I don't think Darren's giving out charity deals by any means. The guys who are announced on longer term contracts, they've shown value and they've earned them.
Yeah. Um I, I mean we got a couple of questions, but I want to ask you this one before we move on. Nathan Ani, he kind of steps in for Jalen as a starting center back. How do you think Nathan does this year as that starting center back?
Yeah, I mean, I think he has plenty of potential, right? Like without having the stats from last year in front of me, I wouldn't be surprised if he got close to what, probably 15, 16 starts last year, because he was very much a regular until he got that red card, and I think they might have got him in Darren's doghouse a little bit at that point, and that's also when the Jalen Dakota combo just kind of you know took form and the whole team kind of took off. So you sort of get why that happened, but he was a go-to guy for the whole probably first half to 2/3 of the season. So there's no reason to think he won't be able to step in, fill that essentially Jalen Chrysler, Kyle Ventnor, type big man role in the defense, and Dakota can take the Yvonne small guy role, for lack of a better way of putting it, because neither one of them are tiny guys necessarily, but they're more the ball player type of center back. But yeah, I think Ani has every reason to believe that he'll be able to take the next step up, because if you look at each of his first 2 years in Richmond, he's progressed.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you think he's going to continue to progress?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. He has progressed, and he's definitely shown, you know, he has a capacity for getting a red card or two. Well, hopefully not too, but very much he's shown he's a very physical player, which I love about him. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the preseason schedule. So, Kickers had a couple of preseason games. We know they played against Loudoun United. The game they had against DC United got canceled because DC United doesn't remember they have games. A couple of college teams in there did well against those. I know yesterday they had a game down in Matthews against Crown Legacy that ended 1-1 against Crown Legacy. Nathan Ani had a header in the 56th minute, and Crown Legacy scored a PK in the 85th minute. I'm not going to ask you your thoughts so much on preseason because, once again, we didn't really watch any of these games. It's not like the teams tweet out or you can watch the live stream one of these games. So I'm going to ask you this question instead. How prepared, roster-wise, do you think the Kickers are from starting off on a good footing?
I mean, I think you have to give Darren the benefit of the doubt that he's going to have the team prepared based off of the last couple years, right? There's no reason to think that they're not doing everything with intentionality, that they don't have a vision for how they want to play. And again, like he's having to teach everything to a ton of new guys. There's 7 new guys, on the roster. That's a relatively small number. So I think there's every reason to think they'll be able to be prepared. It would have been great to be able to know more about anything going on in preseason, and I don't know, it doesn't really hold weight for me. The whole, oh well, it's closed door, blah blah blah, because plenty of other teams were, putting out, if not actual streams, little clips, updates, anything like that, and the kickers couldn't be bothered to do anything on that level, which is really really disappointing. In 2023 of all years.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, once again, I don't doubt Darren. I think the start of the season is a little tough, but I mean, if nothing else, I think you gotta trust Darren. I think the squad. I think that bringing back a lot of the starters and whatnot from last year helps out a lot as well because you're not teaching new stuff. You're kind of just building upon which has already been taught in years past. So I think that's a good way. But what's your biggest question going into the season? Like, what's your big question?
I guess it has to be how do we fill in that Ethan Bryant role, because
Yeah,
he was such a machine in the midfield by the end of the year. Uh, that there's not an obvious replacement for him. Like, yeah, we lost the outside backs, but it's not hard to figure out who's on those spots.
yeah,
Yeah, we lost Bolaños, but we have Gordon, we have Bentley, we have Belmar. It's not hard to figure out who's going to be there. Maybe not. We don't know exactly who it's going to be, but we have an idea of who. And with relative confidence that they'll be able to do well there. But that kind of box to box midfielder, I think that's the biggest question mark on this team right now.
yeah. I agree with you on that. I think that's my big concern, and also like more so midfield depth. Like I think there is kind of a noticeable drop off in the backups to the starters in the team in the midfield. Like if an injury happens, God forbid, to Neil or Zaka, like is Chandler, is Jao ready to step up into that role? Watching the preseason game against Madison, James Madison, um, Justin Sukow was looking to be in that Ethan Bryan role. You know, I don't necessarily know who's the backup to him because from my understanding, there's only 5 real midfielders on the team. So that's one of the concerns I see right now that I have a question about. Yeah.
Maybe somebody's getting their position changed. Maybe somebody's stepping up into the midfield. We don't know about it yet, but yeah, I think that's just the big concern because we've got a million wingers. We got
Yeah.
good depth on the back line, I think.
We
But
got
it's
one
just,
winger who can't even play yet that we'll see in the middle of the season come back.
yeah. So we're good there, but it's just a matter of who's going to connect the back to the front, other than
Yeah.
just Saka.
I want to ask you this though: if say we get to the middle of the season and the midfield isn't as gelling as how Darren wants it to, do you see Darren making a mid-season acquisition to get a proven midfielder in, or do you think he tries to fix it over the course of the year?
Yeah, I think Darren has shown that he's going to go, get what he needs if he needs to. You think back 2 years ago, Ethan Bryant shows up mid-season, and goes right in, to the team. Last year, Gordon pops up like 7 games into the season, and then DVD, comes in a little bit, later on, which both of those signings really helped to propel the attack, even more forward at that point. So I won't be surprised, if when we do see a mid-season edition, uh, just based on precedent. Seems like Darren always has a little bit saved away for a rainy day in case that needs to happen.
Yeah. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Well, this is the next question we got coming up. Which new player are you looking most forward to see? I think you might already answer this with Colton Belmer. Am I correct in saying that? Like that's who you're most excited to see?
I mean, probably. Yeah, I feel like every other year I end up saying an outside back, and I guess by default, you know, that's most of the options.
Yeah.
This year are defenders, but yeah, I think Belmar has the most capacity to be able to maybe do something special for this team.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too shocked to see what he has out there. I mean, for me personally, I think I kind of already mentioned it. Zhao, I'm anxious to see how he does and develops in this team. He's a little bit older. He's 25 already, but in terms of development, I think he might still have some steps to go. But I mean, if he gets it clicking and going, I mean, who's to say he's not in that midfield partnership with Neil and pushing his team and helping out with some assists? So,
I mean, that
um,
would be great if he's able to, step right into that, spot and make a contribution, right away.
yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to be upset about that.
No, I don't think so either. Another thing is well, if we look at the whole roster, which player from last year's roster that's coming back now, you think it's pros to have a breakout season?
Ooh, breakout season. Okay. I mean, I feel like it always has to be Bentley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of guys are established already. So, like, say Emily's going to have a breakout season. You can't say Akira is going to have a breakout season because that's, I don't think, literally possible,
No,
to do.
I think his breakout seasons are pretty much done at this point.
Right, and some of the other guys, that I think are more likely to be, reserves. I don't really, see it. So, Bentley, really pops out as, maybe the guy who can make that, uh, Bolaños, year 1 to year 2 or year 2 to year 3 type leap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, I'll go Matt Bentley. I think he's poised to have a real breakout season. Because I think last year he had 6 goals and 3 assists. I think if I'm
Something
not
like
mistaken.
that.
Yeah, something like that. I think he's poised to have another standout season like that. I know you were kind of getting on me because I said I wanted to see a starting lineup of Bentley, Gordon, and Belmar. And if I do see that, I trust me, believe it will be the blackest moment I will have in City Stadium. Like I will boast about this. But I am interested to see if, say, there's a stretch where, because we know it's going to happen to Emmy. He's going to get a period late in the season where he gets a little rest or yellow card accumulation, almost like Zaka. Um, I'm interested to see if Bentley can get that starting striker role and if he can lead on to it. I'm interested to see how he kind of does it around. I know we've seen him a lot in the right wing. I still think Bentley is a striker in his heart, but I think he's poised to have a good season this year.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I just couldn't help but take the opportunity of you highlighting, looking forward to seeing a lineup without Emiliano Terzaghi, in there and getting excited about it. It's like,
Well, I mean, this is
I get
also like,
what you're going for, but like,
I
no.
mean, yeah. I mean, this is me saying this like after Tulagi, gets his little break around August, September, like a little week break. We're like, all right, we'll sit you now. Um, you know what? Another player I think will have another poise season is Simon Fitch. I think he's going to have a really good year because I mean, near the end of the year last year, he was almost getting into the starting 11 the same amount of time as Payne was, and I think, well, yeah, Simon started the Chattanooga game in the playoffs, right? If memory serves me right.
Yeah, he started left back.
Yeah, yeah, because Stu came. I think Stu came on in half, but yeah, I mean, I think Simon is really poised to have a real good year as well. I don't know if he gets into like the first or second 11, but I think he'll have a good year.
Yeah, I think the question for him is just where is he playing? Is he going to be another, you know, you utility guy on the back line? Is he going to get, kind of a consistent home in one of the spots? Because
Yeah.
I could see him with his frame, becoming a good, third option after, Dakota and Audie.
Yeah, he can be. And then when I saw him in preseason, he seemed to add a little bit more to his frame. He didn't look so bird chested. So that's good to see. So this is another question that we came up with. it's interesting to see that the Kickers have signed 4 academy players, and those 4 academy players are Becca Howe, Gabe Cox, also Eli Mumford, and Octavio, who was with the team. Those 2 was with the team last year. Um, what's what do you think is a good over under for the amount of minutes those 4 academy players will get this year?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with 200.
Okay, 200. I was leaning more to 3, but I'll be yeah. I think 200 is a good number. Um,
Yeah, because
out of that
I don't.
group, oh yeah,
Okay.
no. What was you about to say?
I think I was going to answer the question that you're getting ready to ask. So go ahead and ask it.
Oh, okay. What like, out of this group, who do you think gets most of those minutes? Like, gets the most minutes?
Uh, so it's not Eli because I think if we're playing him, something's gone terribly wrong. In goal.
Yeah,
No offense to Eli, but uh, you really don't want to be going to your third keeper. Unless it is like a late game sub like Darren did a couple times last year, just to be
yeah,
able to do it.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I feel like Otavio probably has a little bit of a edge just being with the team last year. As uh, maybe gives him a slight head start over the
mhm,
other 2 guys. I mean, with all of our questions around the midfield, maybe it is Gabe because he seems to be the midfielder of the group, and seems like there are reserve opportunities much more readily available there than anywhere else on the field, like we were talking about 5-10 minutes ago. So it's probably my best guess, Otavio or Gabe, but that's based off of nothing at all.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I think he's probably the best bet to get the most amount of minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if Gabe gets in there just because of where he plays in that midfield. If he gets a couple of minutes, is he's second in the team in minutes, just because rest and things like that. Um, but one of the surprise signings that we saw this year was this re-signing of EVD. We kind of thought he would be signing back, but we thought he would be signing in the middle of the year, not be one of the original signings in the off season. If you don't know, EVD is going to be out to the midseason because he tore his Achilles. They're expecting him back midseason. Do you see any pros or and cons with this re-signing?
I mean, I think the pro is that it's locked in. It's going to happen, right? It's not any kind of question about, oh well, might it happen, might it not happen. You eliminate any of that nonsense right up front. You can have him with the team. Officially training, officially getting rehab done, and then hopefully you'll be able to integrate him in a little bit quicker because he'll have been officially around the team a
Mm,
lot more. So I think that's the pro of it. Yeah, the con of it, it's a little extra salary cost. As opposed to if you waited a few more months to do it, but it's probably the right thing to do. By him if you're going to bring him back, just get him on payroll early on and get it taken care of.
yeah, I mean, I don't really see a con to it. I think it helps out in the middle of the season when days get a little bit longer and it gets a little bit hard out there. Squad depth is definitely a thing, and I mean, this is someone that came in and had an immediate impact with the team already, and it kind of gives you a different change of pace option. I mean, when he comes back to the team, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think he has any possibility of being a starter? Or do you think he'll be like kind of like a super sub, like coming on 65th, 70th minute to impact games?
I mean, if we're going to work on the assumption that he comes back, at the level he was before, because I think that's the big question:
Yeah,
is he going to lose a step? Because he was deceptively quick. Like he's a bigger dude. He's not a lanky guy like a lot of the guys on the team are. Like he's
yeah,
got a little muscle on him, uh, but he can move. Too. So is
yeah,
he going to still have that extra step or two? But if he does, if he's back at 2022 levels, yeah, I think he can get right back in there as a rotation starter potentially. And again, a lot of it's going to depend on how our other guys doing and performing. Like if they're you know playing lights out, no, he's probably not going to go in and be a starter. Because why would you change that up? But uh, realistically, we know Darren likes to be able to rotate around his wingers quite a bit. So I think there's going to be ample opportunity for him to see some game time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. So the question comes from Ted, and this is a perfect leading question from this. So Ted, who by the way has a DC United podcast, he said it seems like the lineup is mostly set. Where would you rate us compared to last season? Better, worst, or about the same?
So in fairness, have not been able to actually see them yet because I've been away for the last month or so, and preseason has been going on. Uh, I mean, it's hard to say. They haven't taken a slight step back just because when you're losing, MVP finalists and Bolaños, you have Defender of the Year finalist, and Chrysler. You're losing, basically two starting outside backs. You're losing Young Player of the Year in the midfield. If those are losses, do I think that they'll to overcome them? Yeah, probably. Yeah, but maybe it might not be as crisp right away. But also saying all that, it sounds like we lost a lot, but you could roll a lineup out there pretty easily of guys who were all here last year and who actually contributed last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same lines as you. I agree that it is kind of difficult to replace all that is lost, even when new signings coming in. Um, it's gonna be some new learning, but I think we're a little bit worse. But that doesn't mean we're not a good team still. I still think we're one of the top tier teams in USL League One. Um, but losing, like you said, the two outside backs, losing a key player in the midfield, and then losing a key attacker does hurt you a little bit. There's no way that doesn't hurt you unless you're like Real Madrid, and we're not.
Yeah, so I think maybe the bigger thing is there's a little bit more question of how is the depth going to play in because the team had some good depth last year. I think they will this year, but it's not as proven as it was by the end of last year.
Yeah. Well, I
Because
mean,
that
this
depth
is even
is
a better.
shipped into the lineup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is even a better question. Like, what is the ceiling / floor for this team? Like, what's the potential of this team?
I think the ceiling is back at the top again.
Yeah.
Like we lost some pieces, but again, Akira there. You have a defensive pairing that has played together in the past and played together pretty well in the past. You have guys like Simon. You have guys like Cole who are proven players in this league. That can fill in different portions in defense. You got Zaka, who you talked about is probably a very underappreciated player in this league. Vinyals, who maybe one of us should have actually said him for the breakout player this year because I think there is that potential there. I mean, you got Emmy up top. That's kind of a safety valve card right there because he's going to give you at least 15. Yeah, and that's probably low in projection. Then you got the 8,000 wingers that we have. At least a couple will be hot at any given moment. There's a lot of reason to feel good about the team.
Yeah. I mean, I think the ceiling for this team or the higher expectation for this team is, like you said, like kind of complete the story of last year. Go out, win the regular season title again. The team definitely had the potential of doing that. I think the next step for this team is to get over the hurdle in the playoffs, like us winning a playoff game and getting to the final and completing the story. It kind of feels, I don't know, man. Let me ask you this: like, do you feel kind of incomplete from last year?
I mean, I guess so, yeah. Because
Okay,
it doesn't feel like it was supposed to end like that.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. It kind of has like that tasty. Like when I go back and think of all the good moments we had, it's kind of like it feels incomplete. Like it doesn't feel like the story was done. And I mean that might be the mantra of what Darren is saying. Like, yo, complete the story, like complete the journey. Um, I think the floor for this team, and I talked about it on Walking 90, is barely missing out on the playoffs, but I think that's more so just because of how smaller this squad is compared to squad sizes in the past. And if you lose a key player, the drop off, what that can do at what part of the season, like what that can do to the team and kind of hinder things. And that's what, so that's more so injury based. If injuries happen, how much of that could derail the team? But that's it.
But yeah, if everybody gets hurt, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And look, I'm hoping and praying that no one gets injured significantly at all. um, but I mean, for you, like, what makes for a successful season in your mind? You know, only one team can win the title, but what makes for
Yeah,
success for you?
certainly back again with the home playoff game is probably the minimum marker for success this year. And I'm not even sure if like hosting a 4v5 game quite gets there. Yeah, it probably technically does. Uh, so, yeah, I guess I'll say minimum expectation is another home playoff game.
Uh, for me, I would say minimum expectation is being a top four seed. Yeah, I mean, home playoff game again, but yeah, yeah, top four seed. I would say that's minimum expectation for me. Because that, what was it
All
last
right, so
year?
we're pretty much on the same page there.
Yeah, I think last year was being top two. Was it? I
I
think
don't
it
know if
was.
anybody
I don't
had
know.
the guts to go that far.
Yeah, but I mean, I think being top four is the minimum expectation for me. I think if you want to be crazy and be like Shanair, I think he would have probably said like top two. But yeah, I think top four is fine. You know, I would love to have it wrapped up early as possible if that's a thing. But knowing Richmond,
Yeah.
it's probably not.
And the
um,
other thing is, we'd love to get another shot at an MLS team in the Open Cup again.
you know what? That's another thing. We can talk about it as well. U.S. Open Cup expectations. Like, how far do you think this team progresses? Like, let's just say, is there a reality where this team gets in the playoffs, they're six, but we get to the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup and knock out an MLS team? Like, does that suffice? Does that make you feel happy?
It'll make the first part of the year feel good. Uh, that's when a lot of Open Cup stuff will happen.
Yeah.
Hard to It's hard to say that
Let's say
feeling
we go
will
into Union
carry
Omaha
through for the
run
rest. I
last
mean,
year.
you're basically asking is last year's Omaha a successful
Yeah,
season?
yeah.
Let's say no. I think league outweighs cup.
Okay.
Like cup is
Okay.
fun, but I'd rather be consistently strong over the course of 32 regular season games
Yeah.
because we're going to be talking about all of those. You know, full well talking about things not going well, not as fun as talking about winning.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think it would be cool for the short term to go on that cup run, but the impact it can have, like we saw with Union Omaha down the stretch of the year, can be detrimental as well. So I mean,
Yeah,
I will for me
I think the
personally.
answer would also be different. I think my
Yeah,
answer might
I
be
think
different if the playoffs had gone better last year.
true. Yeah, true. I think it just goes back to that. Like, it just feels like it's incomplete. Like, it just feels like something's not there that it should be there. And it's kind of like I mean, it's kind of like we're the forgotten champion. Like, won the regular season title, but all the talk has been about Tormenta and them putting a star on their jersey, which rightfully so they did. They had an amazing end to the season, won the USL playoffs and everything, but it's kind of like we're just like, hey guys, we won the regular season, So yeah, we'll see. And look, if there's anyone that can carry a grudge, it's definitely Darren because he will carry that grudge into every game.
Yeah,
Um,
love a petty king.
oh God, Darren. Look, a good Darren is a petty Darren, and I think that's the best thing about it. Talking about Darren, um, let's talk about his coaching staff a little bit. Connor Capoletti, I believe that's his last name, comes over from Lane United. Once again, that pipeline from the Pacific Northwest is strong and well. Strong and well. He comes in to be an assistant coach for this team. Mika, my fault, who originally thought was supposed to be leaving, is coming back to Richmond in a little bit of surprise move. He's going to be partnering with Richmond United. I believe he's the head coach for developmental training, everything over there. Um, I mean, I think these are two great moves for the Kickers. On one front, you develop more of that developmental piece of what Darren's talking about, how we bring in young guys and we develop them up and then we sell them off for bigger fees. But then also, like, you get a different coach in with a different set of eyes that can see things differently.
Yeah, and I think it's just even having an extra body as well. Like you go
Mhm.
from two two coaches. I mean, yeah, I'm not counting Akira off with the goalkeepers. That's not real. Uh, yeah, we had three guys. It could give Darren, maybe a chance to, kind of see more of what's going on. Maybe have Mika work with one unit, Connor with another unit, and Darren's able to rove around a little bit more and be able
Yeah.
to be kind of a little bit more of CEO style.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I mean, obviously with that, you could obviously see how I mean, yeah, there's nothing more for me to add to that. I was trying to add something, but it's nothing more to add. It's good. I think the
Yeah,
more coaches
yeah.
around
I
that,
have no idea if this new guy's a good coach or not. I assume he is. I give
yeah.
Darren the benefit of the doubt, but I couldn't tell you the first damn thing about him.
Nah, I couldn't either. But I mean, hey, I trust Darren at this point. I trust him.
Yeah, he's earned it.
I mean, yeah, he's earned it. Um, last thing, let's get into this slight preview of Charlotte Independence. So, like you said, we opened up the season against Charlotte. It's kind of like a repeat of our first year at USL League One. We played Lansing back to back, not back to back, but like in a short stretch in the beginning of the year. We opened up against Charlotte then, and then our home opener is against Charlotte on April 1st. Sandwich between is Greenville. So with Charlotte, they bring back Gabriel Obiton, Miguel Ibarra, Trevor Mbuyu, Duty, Sess, and they also brought in Dane Kelly, who spent 4 games here at Richmond. They bring him back, who is kind of like a Charlotte Independence legend. I believe when he was there, he set the USL championship record for goals scored. Um, Hector Acosta, I believe he will be suspended for the first game as he got a red card in the USL League One playoffs. That crazy matchup against Tormenta. The team usually plays a 3-5-2. They can score a lot of goals, but as we seen when they came into Richmond, they can also concede and they give up a lot of space. So, Matt, how do you think Darren approaches this matchup, and what do you think this projected starting 11 will be with Darren?
I mean, I'm going to assume Darren's going to do the classic Darren approach. We're going to see the 4-3-3. We're going to, yeah, see the usual until proven otherwise, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much.
yeah, I feel like Charlotte's almost like a four-man version of what Darren likes to do because, yeah, they've got a lot of attacking wingers that might draw your attention. Not much else. Like Sis is decent, but like I have questions about their defense. I have questions about how their goaltending will go because they don't have Zendejas this year to be able to bail them out and save them constantly. And when he wasn't there last year is when they really had that month when their wheels fell off. So I don't think it'll ever be that bad, for them this
Yeah.
year. But I'm not necessarily convinced by what they do have in defense. So it looks like they might be trying to play some shootout style ball.
It definitely does have that vibe to it of shootout style soccer. I mean, I think the whole state of Carolina, outside of Charlotte FC, is kind of going over the same thing because NCFC's kind of got this whole. We'll put 7 wingers on the field and see how it goes without any kind of midfield. Um, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I think the games against Charlotte, if you take away the 4-0 that was here, I think those games were kind of close. Richmond kind of got the prevailing upper hand in those and kind of was the more dominant team over the 90 minutes in each game. It's going to be interesting to see how Darren attacks their more veteran but older midfield. I'm actually going to be watching that. So I think that's another good question. I think that's something we might want to do a little bit more for the previews. But what's the one thing you're going to be looking for within this game?
I think how do the new guys, kind of supplement and complement the returners? Yeah, I think start of the year that's kind of got to be it.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm going to be looking more so to see how those center back and fullback partnerships are. Um, that's something that's going to catch my attention and see how that formulates and goes and whatnot. But this probably will be our longest podcast of the year for now.
That's a lie. You would know that.
I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to. That's why, I'm trying to get better at doing these Google Docs so that way we can not be over an hour 20 each Sunday night. I'm trying. That's the key. Matt, any other concerns or things of praise that you might have for this team or season going forward?
Not really. The only other topic we haven't covered yet that say my piece on is white shirts are boring. I don't understand why everybody's so hyped about this thing. It's a white shirt with gray letters and numbers that I don't know if you're going to be able to see well on the field, and certainly not on the crappy USL cameras that they have. So it's like cool, plain white, fun.
Look, I think streetwise, because a couple of my friends who are just now getting into the Richmond Kickers are I was like, yo, I can wear this jersey with my J's and whatnot and stuff like that. So I think they're liking it. I do agree with you. I think it's okay. I think they blew most of the budget last year on the jerseys. But from what I heard this home jersey is exceptional. So I can't wait to the 15th for when they drop that. So we'll see.
Did you hear from the people who thought this white jersey was the greatest thing ever?
Hey man, look, there's some people out there that love a good white kid. Not me. I need a little color in my life.
People are allowed to be wrong. If you're like Real Madrid and your white's actually like your color, cool, fine, not a problem. That's not the Richmond Kickers. We're a red team, so like last year, the white with the blue sleeves, cool. I like that. That was fine. It's a little bit different, a little bit extra taste in there.
Yeah,
I'm not asking for like some kind of wacky like highlighter color. Looks like the '90s threw up on the shirt sort of deal. Just really plain white.
Yeah. Like I said, man, that budget last year, that jersey budget, they were like, all right, we gotta pull this back a little bit. But I will say this though. The goalkeeper jerseys, that red one, that looks
the one
nice.
that should be her jersey.
It could be. If they sell that goalkeeper red jersey, I might just have to get that because that looks nice. I like that one a lot.
Like the blue one looks nice too. Like, so the blue one looks nice too, and even last year, like the green one went over well. It was simple. It was just a green shirt, but simplicity worked. So it's just a matter of I don't like it because it's a simple white shirt. It's because it's a white shirt.
Yeah, I was telling a couple of people. It kind of reminded me of when MLS fans were so heated and devastated when every team at MLS had their white T-shirt design 2 years ago, and then now they're like, "All right, we
Yeah.
gotta actually do good with these jerseys." Yeah, so maybe that, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But once again, the season starts up March 18th. Game is at 5 p.m. in Charlotte. So any fans that are going down, man, let us know. We'd love to hear how your experience went, how fun it was. I won't make it because I'll be at a birthday party. So I'll be ducked off in the corner watching the game while kids are in the ball pit having fun. Matt, anything else from you, my good man, before we end the show?
It's time. Let's go.
Yeah, it's time. It's about that time. Can't wait for it, man. So yeah, listeners, as always, we just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day for listening to our show. Once again, make sure to head on over to rivercity93.com, where you can check out our articles, stay up to date with the podcast, and get all your latest team news. You can also donate to the podcast for as low as $1 a day. So with that being said, for Matt, for myself, we will holler at you guys next week. Be safe and be easy.